On our recent trip to Hoi An, Vietnam, I gave my partner the choice of using 2 different cameras. After the first day, she only wanted to use one, and I asked her why. And she said simply, "This camera gives me the range that I like, and it's very easy to use. And the photos, they're beautiful." That camera is the RX10 Mark V. Sony loaned me a pre-production unit for this video. It's not sponsored. All opinions are my own. I brought this for her because I know the kind of camera that she likes to use. A camera with a zoom lens, good ergonomics, fast autofocus, good colors, easy to use, and she doesn't have to fuss with any of the settings. And I watched her just get involved in the scenes, the ambiance, the excitement, the bustleness of the street market. And what I saw her do was just absolutely fall in love with photography in a way that, I mean, she loves taking photos, and I know this, but she was just so involved in moments, waiting there for people to make a move or to be in a position to capture an image. And then afterwards, I asked her, I said, "What did you think?" She goes, "I'm only using this camera for the rest of the trip." And I asked her why. She said, "I have a lot of range on the zoom. I can go so far, and it's sharp. And the eye tracking and the faces, it's all there. I don't have to think about it." And that brings us to why this camera is so special, especially in 2026. A flagship alpha experience in a bridge camera, unlike anything we've ever seen before. The same processor that's in the A1 Mark II and the A9 III is inside this. Subject detection, the autofocus with the AI chipset inside is in this. You've got 30 frames per second, blackout free with raw photos. You have video specs, 4K 60, no crop, 4K 20 with a slight crop, 422 10-bit S-Log3, S-Cinetone with auto framing, image stabilization, everything that you would see in a lot of the flagship alpha cameras is the technology's out of the way. Once you set it, you don't touch the camera again, unless you want to fiddle with other things. You want to be like me and other people that play with cameras for a living. But for someone like her, for someone who's this camera's designed for, all they want is to zoom in, zoom out, capture a variety of different images, nail the shot, and be confident about what they have. They don't care about the sensor size, even though this is a stacked 1-inch sensor, a newer 1-inch sensor from Sony. They don't care about some of the other specs that we in the camera industry care. They don't. They just go, is the image quality good? Is it sharp? Is it in focus? Then that's what they care about. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the ergonomics on this because there's something on this that I think is worth noting is that this feels very much like an alpha camera. The grip is essentially the A9 III, A1 II grip. On the left-hand side, there's no more sort of dial on the top area. It's kind of flattened out. It has very much like an alpha-esque design. 3.6 million dot EVF, which is bright, vibrant, really good refresh rate inside of this. 1.62 million dot display in the back, which you can, flip up and down, but you can't, it's not fully articulated like you get on the A9 III or the A1 II, so that's a little bit different there. The battery on this is the same as what you're getting on all the alpha cameras out there, except the A7R6, which has a higher capacity battery. 1 SD card slot, but for a camera like this, you're not gonna need more. So let's talk about the speed of this lens for a second, the zoom speed on this, because I know that was something that people talked about on the previous generation. It's faster. So I timed it from 24 to 600, took me about 2.3 seconds. Now you can obviously manually adjust that, but I found that I got faster speeds by just using the zoom lever here on the grip. And as you're seeing the image quality here, if I didn't tell you this is from a 1-inch sensor, you would have no idea. Now again, there are limitations to the 1-inch sensor, especially when you get into lower light situations, and we'll talk about that later on. But I was so happy that she enjoyed using the camera. And I even enjoyed using the camera quite a bit. And even at 600mm f4, now again, it's not the same f4 as you get on a full frame camera, but think about that. You're getting an f4 at 600mm. It's still impressive for a camera this size. So let's talk about some of the new enhancements on this camera. First, dust and moisture resistant design. This is new to this. So while the lens is technically the same in terms of focal range. There have been improvements made to that as well as the body. Also, the menu and touch interface is like all current alpha cameras out there. So that means you're going to have the new menu system. It's all touch interface throughout, or you can turn it off as you want to. Let's talk about autofocus, rolling shutter speeds, and all those things, because this is where I think the camera really shines. Now, as I mentioned, it's 30 frames per second blackout free. This is part and parcel due to the BIONZ XR processor with a dedicated AI chipset. So you're getting all the subject detection and recognition that's in the current alpha cameras. But in terms of the autofocusing speed, that's where this gets really interesting. So this is around 60 AF/AE calculations per second. And this camera performs like a flagship alpha camera in many, many ways. Birds in flight are not easy to capture. And I'm not a professional bird photographer. So if there's any hiccups, it's probably due to me, not the camera. But I can tell you this camera locked on focus when the bird is there. It tracked the eye, tracked the body, and I did capture some pretty decent images considering that I was only there for a couple hours. These are all JPEGs. These are not even RAW files because I can't show you RAW files yet. Again, it does do 30 frames per second blackout free with RAW and JPEG combined. The buffer is pretty good on this. I had no issues with that. I mean, obviously these are 20 megapixel files, so it's not that taxing on the system. And there was one shot I captured of this brown bird. I wanted to see the detail I could capture close up on the feathers, the eye, the beak. And you look at this image, but you wouldn't know this comes from a one sensor. And that again goes to just the overall combination of great optics, great sensor, and you're getting images like this. I've noticed out of the RX10 V that the colors are really good straight out of camera under standard color profile. Now, you have the creative looks here, very similar to the Sony RX10 III and other alpha cameras, and they give you a sort of a film-esque vibe. But the standard color is fantastic. Look at the skin tone from these people here in Hoi An. I mean, right out of camera, it's very neutral, very easy to color grade from. I've increased the warmth, the vibrancy, just to give it a bit more pop. But out of camera, this is very pleasing. Now, I also did take it out in low light situations at the what's called the night safari here at the Singapore Zoo or Mandai Wildlife Reserve. The night safari is a very dark zoo experience, and I'm talking like you barely can see the animals, and sometimes just a little bit of light as in when. So you're going to be pushing ISO 6400, 12,800. It did a pretty decent job. However, there's one thing omitted on this camera that you should know about that's not omitted on the Mark IV, Mark III, Mark II, etc. And that is a autofocus lamp. They replaced it here with a tally lamp for video. So in very low light situations, when that autofocus lamp would kick in to lock focus, you're going to see that this camera does hunt a little bit. Let's talk about the focal range to aperture, just so you guys know where you're at with everything. And by the way, even if you adjust the aperture ring here, it will automatically adjust regardless. Now at 25 millimeters, it goes to 2.5, so it barely stays at 2.4. At 28 millimeters, it jumps to f2.8. 36 millimeters goes to f3.2. 55 goes to f3.5, and it stays all the way to 3.5 till you get to 100 millimeters, and it stays at f4. Yes, I wish there was more range on the faster apertures. I was told by Sony that this may change. Again, this is pre-production firmware on this, so things could change. And let's talk about image stabilization because this is a big factor as well. But I want to pull out the notes from my Sony rep here just so I don't make any mistakes. All right. So the stabilization is a combination of the new gyro sensor with the latest stabilization algorithms. So it's a blend of electronic and optical stabilization. So the new active mode inside of this is also a more advanced form of the stabilization used than in the earlier model. I have noticed in photography, it's decent, especially at 600 millimeters. There's no shakiness there. It's pretty stable when you're locked in. And I've also saw in video that it's pretty okay as well. Also do want to talk about the hot shoe for a second. It is the new digital interface hot shoe, which is a welcomed addition. So that means you can plug in your mics and all that stuff. You've got up to 24-bit for your audio and no 32-bit internal. Let's also talk about connectivity for a second here because you have all the latest 5 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz. You've got USB-C, Gen 2, 3.2 inside of this. So it's all inside there. Live streaming 4K 30p. It's all included. Now let's try some video, test some S-Cinetone, S-Log3, and see how it performs. I'm currently about 600 millimeters at f4 from the camera system. Now, the way I can see myself is through the Sony Creator app that's connected to this via Wi-Fi. It's pretty good. Eye tracking's on point, everything looks great. Now, I'm not shooting a log for this one. Even though you can shoot an S-Log3 and you can do All-Intra, I was told by Sony that the recommended specs are a lower bitrate 4K and obviously S-Cinetone because, you know, the market for this camera may not shoot professional video in S-Log3, but if you want to do it, you can, but your base ISO is 1000, so keep that in mind. As you can see here, I can control it through the app. Again, this is a very formidable camera. I would say this, if I had one wish on the RX10, would be that we had a fully articulating display so I could see myself recording versus having to rely on a phone app. Now, the phone app is great, but it'd been nice to have that display. You can't have it all, especially for the price point, but the versatility and what you're getting and the colors out of this are absolutely fantastic. And the eye tracking, you can see, just bang on. Also, as I mentioned, there's no crop in 4K 60, slight crop in 4K 120. You can do auto framing as well, which we can try that in just a second, but I think you're gonna see a degradation in image quality because that's gonna really crop in on this stacked 1-inch sensor, but we'll give it a shot just for the test and to see how it performs. All right, so now we're trying auto framing on this, and I've got more of the tight crop on this just for easier use because the other way it's a bit finicky how you frame yourself. But as you can see, it does a pretty good job, and I can move from side to side here. Got a few steps, and obviously I'm on more of a telephoto zoom range, but yeah, looks pretty good. And just in case you want to see what S-Log3 looks like on this, I'm recording into it right now. I'm doing it All-Intra 4K, so higher bit rate. It does work, but obviously you guys take a look at the image quality, think if it's worth having it or not. I think S-Cinetone is fantastic anyway. So let's talk about some of the things that might be on your mind when it comes to this camera. First, there's no flash inside of it like the previous generations. I understand that, but there's pros and cons to that. First, you're limited on the power and the flexibility of the flash, but it's also nice to have. My take is, I'd rather have the power and the flexibility, and because of the range that this camera gives you, a built-in flash is only going to be used for certain scenarios. Also, let's talk about price. Now, I know the price here in Singapore is around 2,799 Singapore dollars, which I'm guessing is going to be around 2,200 USD. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll put the correct price in the comments when I know it, because I don't know the official international pricing yet. With that said, I know it is a bit more than the previous generation, but that camera was also 9 years ago. Things have changed. So while the price is a little bit up there, it is justifiable. My partner was on the phone with me the other night for 25 minutes going on and on how she loved using the camera, asking me, can we get the camera? Repeatedly, can we get the camera? So guess what? When the camera's released, I'll be at the Sony store getting the camera. To wrap up this video, I gotta say, Sony has created probably the best travel camera that you can buy. Performance, specs, versatility, this thing is impressive. And I only had a pre-production version. I haven't even seen the raw files yet. But I have a feeling I'll be doing a follow-up video on it in time to come. Anyway, guys, thank you once again, and I'll chat to you all very, very soon. Bye.